Hey guys, review today on the Mora 511. As you know, one of the first videos I ever did on this channel was the Mora 510. When I was really into backpacking in the early 2000s, I came across Mora on the forums. They were just, people just said the greatest things. I bought that Mora 510 and I graduated from being a guy who used flea market knives to a guy who started using real knives. And it took me a long time to finally decide to buy the 511. I always was a huge fan of the 510. I always loved it. In fact, I own 2 or 3 of them now. They've always been very kind to me, and I do prefer them because they do have that longer tang compared to many of the newer Mora models out there. The tang on the 510 and 511 comes probably about 2/3 of the way down, whereas many of the companion only has that little nub of a tang. So I do prefer the longer tang in these smaller knives. I know they do have the Garberg out there, but guys, I don't think it's worth the money that they're charging for it. You know, I see it, I look at it, but there's lots of other knives out there with better steel in that same price range. So, yeah. Okay, back on topic. The 511. Now, I really like what Mora's been doing with these handles as of lately. Changing them up, adding a little texturing to them, you know, really kind of is nice because they are kind of known for having those little bit of smooth handle on the plastic models. Their sheaths have also saw a pretty good improvement over the years. It had that little thing on here for adding a second sheath. I cut that right off. No use for me. Well, pretty decent, pretty strong, drain hole in the bottom, good retention, you know. So the 511 and 510 are very similar, with the exception of the finger guard. They're pretty much almost identical blade and just slightly different handle. So a lot of people do prefer this model because it does, you know, give you a little bit of protection. A lot of people with the 510 are worried about sliding up the blade and slicing their hand. But on the other hand, you know, for people with bigger hands, this handle can be a little bit small for people. So that can be an issue as well. For me, with my little tiny little fingers, I know, my poor wife, you know, I got huge palms, tiny fingers. It's so weird. Yeah, I'm a freak of nature, guys. It doesn't fit that bad in my hand, but I do like the 500 better. You know, I don't like having this in the way. If I want to cut flush, I like that capability. So having that there is kind of a, you know, makes you end up having to cut at higher angles when you're just looking to, say, slice something. All right, so as I mentioned, it's got these, you know, plastic handles. Fit and finish on these guys, you know, like a lot of people swear, oh my god, Moras are the greatest thing ever. You know, they're not. You know, they're $10 knives, they're throwaways. You know, like you can see on the back of the spine here, very uneven, very, very uneven, not ground very even at all. The edge is good. These things always come super, super sharp out of the box. It's really good carbon steel. It's very close to 1090. I think it's like, people said it's like 1085 or something like that. So it's a very good high carbon steel, at least carbon steel versions, at least. You know, they're small, lightweight, go everywhere. And like I said, they're $10. They're throwaways. Now, Mora, you know, when I first got into Mora, there was only like 10 different versions you could get. You could get, you know, the 500, the 510. Then they had the carving series with all those laminates, you know, and all those kind of crazy things. They had the number 1, the number 2, I think the Clipper, you know, and a couple others, but there wasn't a ton to pick from, at least in the American market. And nowadays they have the Companion, the Robust, all these different ones. And part of the thing I don't like is they've gone with that shorter tang, which kind of worries me. And so I've always kind of stuck with the traditional, you know, the 510, and now the 511 is my go-to Moras. Because they are, I think, you know, that longer tang, just a little bit more, I don't know, safe long term if you're really going to be pounding on these things. You can see this thing's a little dirtied up. It's got a little bit of a patina started on it already. That's just from using it to cut food. Over time, these things really develop a really great patina. My advice to you guys, use them. Don't be afraid. You don't need to oil these things like crazy. Just get them dry. You know, if you use them, you cut food, wipe it off with your shirt, throw it back. You know, I've had this now for, oh boy, quite a few months, guys. I should have reviewed this a long time ago. You know, just use it, wipe it off, put it away, you'll start to develop that patina. You know, because if you do, especially if you're cutting into sticky foods and things like that, you're going to get those little bits of spots of patina. They're going to start to develop slowly over time. These things are great, guys. Number one, the scandi grind, super, super easy to sharpen. You know, just lay it flat on the stone and sharpen. You know, they take a great edge because they are very close to a 1090 steel. Just super sharp. And they take a great edge. These are great beginner knives, great knives for Boy Scouts, great knives for anyone getting into this, or even guys who are experienced and know what they're doing. These are still great knives. You know, you're not getting all the latest bells and whistles and the coolest mic to handle and all that, but in the end, for $10, you know, I buy these things whenever I got the spare change laying around. And this one here, guys, has been used quite a bit. I took this backpacking this winter. I've done quite a bit with it. Use it quite. Actually, I've been leaving it kind of in the kitchen and using it around the kitchen. And you know, I've only had to really just strop it a couple of times. They hold a great edge. You know, and even after kind of all that work, these are still, you know, just absolutely. I mean, this is going against the grain. And these things just super, super. They cut, guys. They definitely cut. So there it is, Mora 511.